weren't out there a lot together during those finals.
Mm-hmm.
What can Billy Donovan do? Like, I kind of agree with what Charles Barkley was saying the other night. Those others have to be contributors. All right, you've got guys that can go out there and get buckets. One, they need to make Inez Kanter be a threat. He needs to get 10 to 15 touches a game, in my opinion, because they need somebody to draw attention away from the perimeter. And he's got the back to the basket and a little bit of a face-up game to do it.
I like Kanter.
Yeah, they paid him for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you need to use him. And I've always been back and forth with if I do or don't like Russell Westbrook.
I'm with you.
I respect his talent and his ability to dribble the air out of the ball at times, but he still doesn't pass. Like, that game last night, there were 2 shots where he was double teamed and he tried to go over those guys, and he didn't think to kick out. Like, it doesnn't cross his mind. Right. So yeah, I think they have to instill an offense that moves the ball and gets other guys involved.
Yeah, for me, he's always just been too reckless. And I think he's been too reckless at, 2 minutes before the half, 2 minutes before the end of the game. And he's not making the high percentage plays that a Chris Paul makes. And that's why it's hard for me to really get into him. He plays with so much emotion. Everything is so demonstrative.
Yeah.
He's worried about, don't bump me.
He lost them 2 games in the playoffs last year because of his emotions.
Right. And I just hold that against him for not keeping that together. So I don't know what. I just have caught a couple of games, like you said. I just think with the team ball, we're not going to get into it tonight, but with the team ball versus the the LeBron ball and the ball where the teams that run the offenses that are much more stagnant and 2 people, I just feel like I don't know what Billy Donovan, I just don't know if he has the credibility at this point to go in there and really bend or mold Russell Westbrook into what he might want done out there versus what Russ is doing. So
real quick, this is what they need to do to me. All right, crunch time, 4th quarter, you play Russ at the 2. All right, you put DJ Augustine at the 1, Russ at the 2, KD at the 3, Serge at the 4, Kanter at the 5, and you make everybody work. All right, so Ibaka's got a mid-range game, he stays in the mid-range. Kanter on the block, on that right block is where he's better. And then you run offense as opposed to giving it to Russ in a corner and then letting him dribble the ball out until there's 10 seconds left and he kicks it to KD, who then takes those last 10 seconds to find a shot.
I think Ibaka needs to be challenged to get more buckets, whether it be offensive rebounds or some more blue-collar buckets than just shooting this nice jump shot that he's grown accustomed to relying on a little bit too much. It's great that he can shoot it, but you gotta get to the rim sometimes.
Yeah.
The dude wasn't he in the dunk contest years ago?
He did all right. He had a good presentation. It was a real good intro.
All right, so we get into these last 2 topics, man. We got 11 minutes. Did you see the LeBron game this week with the sleeves, man?
Yeah.
Where you at with that?
Unnecessary. Okay.
Should he have been fined?
Yes.
Okay.
To me,
we on the same page.
To me, anybody else does that, instantaneous. Like, there's calls right then. They make you put on another shirt.
Thank you.
Like,
they made him take off the black mask when he went to the black mask that they didn't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was ridiculous. Like, if you're going this way, then go. Like, if that's the trend, if that's what the new uniform is.
Alabama taking a 10-0 lead down in Tuscaloosa versus number 2 ranked LSU. Yeah, man. I think it would really what it did for me is cemented the fact I've always had some concerns about LeBron mentally and the stuff that he lets
bother him
and get into his psyche in the big moments. And I really feel like he's always excelled when he didn't have to think. And I know it's well documented that he shoots well. I think I did see some statistics last year where he doesn't shoot as well with the sleeves. But Curry's not complaining.
Yeah,
I do think it is unfortunate that they haven't went to maybe an option where we don't do the full sleeve, but instead of like the jersey cut with over the shoulder, maybe it just ends at the top of the shoulder
sleeve.
To kind of quarter sleeve or something to kind of compensate or appease the best player in the league. I do think maybe some variations because in football. I mean, in baseball, Deion, when he was with the Cincinnati Reds, he came out there with the old school throwback cut on his jerseys. And then I think if you watch a lot of the NFL quarterbacks, their sleeves aren't always tight. Like
some of them have those, like it's a cuff around it,
right? Or a looser sleeve for them. So I think it's a shame that they haven't met at some compromise. But for you to just sit here on TV in front of everybody. That just, like I said, it just drove home the fact for me that LeBron lets other things get into his mind at different times. Not saying he's weak-minded, but I mean, people have always questioned him as having a killer instinct. And like I said, if you're sitting here worried about a jersey, and he shot a bad shot, that was a problem. You took a bad shot.
Yeah.
And you've been shooting bad. And you're not getting inside-out three-pointers. You're coming over here and dribbling, to the clock runs down, and then you're just hoisting up a three.
Yeah, I think it does show bad tendency on his part because
jumping in, but you remember in some of these finals and these the conference finals when they got put out. He dribbled the ball off of his foot, dribbled it off his knee. He just did some stuff that was totally uncharacteristic at the biggest moments. So it just kind of, like I said, it reinforced the belief out there that...
Yeah, and I think it also shows that he's a diva.
Thank you. That's why he hasn't... You don't know this about me. Like Dave on with the Dave Chappelle show. You don't know, Joe? Ongoing joke with me and my man, but you don't know this about me. But man, I've been hard on LeBron for not ever participating in the dunk contest, and I just feel like it's because he knew it was a chance for him to get beat, and he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But like I say, 6 months before he got to the NBA, he was on the ESPN high school show, the McDonald's show, dunking against his peers. And then you come into the league and you don't participate in the NBA dunk contest against other adults.
Which to me, and I guess we've never had this conversation.
We just kind of broke out here.
Yeah, I'm hard on LeBron.
Me too.
Always have been. Because look, I'm not good at basketball. All right, but I probably could have played on my high school team. All right, and so you out here being impressive against kids that don't have a future in the game.
Right.
All right. And so then you get in the league and you shy away from any real competition. Right. You're the first guy that wants to go and play with your buddies. Like, you don't have that competitive edge. Like, no, I'm going to beat you because I'm friends with you. Like, Isaiah Thomas and Magic Johnson were friends.
Right.
But on that court, they hated each other.
Right.
It was
still took time to get a kiss
right
at the beginning of the game.
They were still buddy, but it was out there. Like, Isaiah got hurt that game. Magic didn't go over and check on him.
Stepped on him, didn't he?
Yeah, stepped over him.
Right, stepped over him while he was on the ground. So yeah, I just think LeBron his mental approach to the game has just always been an issue for me. That's not hating on LeBron. I have had to accept the fact over the last couple of years that he is the best player.
Yeah, I respect his talent.
But I just think if all things in a perfect world, He's great. But, his effort last year was what it was. I can't disparage or belittle anything right there. But like I said, to be sitting here right now, his sons are very well, they're public, and we know about how good his oldest son is, and we've seen footage of him playing. As a father, do you want your kid to see you sitting here ripping on the jersey and
right.
biting with your teeth? I just thought it was a bad look.
Yeah,
I actually tweeted out that he 5 heartbeated the jersey. If you're familiar with the 5 heartbeats, I thought it was a bad look. Hey man, let's get ready to get out of here. We got 5 minutes left. We're probably 30 minutes too long for anybody anyway, but we do appreciate anybody that's rocked with us on Hoops and Hops. You threw this in here, and is it Brian Windhorse? Is that his first name, Brian? Speaking of LeBron, a guy that's benefited well from LeBron's meteoric rise.
That's our transition right there.
Right, that's the segue. Windhorse came out and with the article, right?
He was on
post online.
Well, he was on SVP and Rosillo. I actually listened to it live. And he said that the relationship between Derrick Rose and the Chicago Bulls was coming to an end.
The divorce has started.
Right. And he didn't say, he said, I don't necessarily know that it happens this year, but the writing is on the wall for that relationship, is basically what he said. And I think he did come back on Mike and Mike the next day and try to, because people were saying that he was inciting trade rumors and saying that Rose was going to be ousted and this whole thing. And he was more so saying that it looks very unlikely that Derrick Rose will resign there, or that they would offer him the money to resign that he thinks he's earned.
This kind of came in wake of D. Rose looking forward to 2017 for his free agency.
Yeah, with some comments that he made, which everybody thinks and nobody says.
As hard as I am on LeBron, I'm even more harsh on Rose. But I'm respectful of the injuries that he sustained, and I would hate for injuries to be something that keeps us from, taking in and watching a great, potentially great career play out. But his media training and his comfort level with the media and all that has been very shoddy. Porous. Yeah, man, I really don't know what to say. As we close this out, I just would say that, I'm looking at different times, and I wouldn't even confuse me or confuse you, although I do write on goingfor2.com, a little shameless plug, but I wouldn't confuse me as a journalist doing what these guys do. But it just seems like the last couple of years with the lighter skinned guy,
Chris Broussard,
who's also from the Akron area, I believe.
Yeah.
Broussard, Windhorse, Stephen A. The media becoming more of the story, or an equal part of the story of the athlete, and I just would prefer these guys. I know you have all the different radio, TV, podcasts. I know you have all of these different outlets, but I just hate it when these guys kind of become the story more so than the game itself. I like most of what Windhorse is doing. I mean, that's a great story for, he started writing, I think, in Akron when LeBron was in high school, developed that relationship, and then moved on as LeBron went, I think I might have heard him the next day after the Rosillo. He was on Mike and Mike and kind of walked this back, and he was just adamant, just emphatic that this was just his opinion. It wasn't anything that he heard from execs and whatnot. But I think he did mention that different execs around the league, their perception was this relationship between D. Rose and the Bulls has broken down.
Well, yeah, I think that's obvious because